I want to bring something to your understanding and attention which is deeply disturbing but highly revelatory. This is something that you should pay attention to because you might be fooled by people who may call themselves experts but have absolutely zero idea of what exactly they are doing. And I'm not going to mince my words because my resolution for 2026 is to call out the quacks so that you know who and where you should get educated from. Here is a message that was shared with me. Have a look once. You can even drag your screen and pause the video and read it properly. Now, the person who has asked me this question is not at all at fault. But it's so sad how people are made to feel about their capabilities by people who want to show themselves as something higher. Maybe they have psychic abilities, and therefore things like family constellation, generational trauma should only be done by people who have psychic abilities or some supernatural forces and abilities, which is absolutely untrue. Someone would say such things simply because they don't know how to logically make the other person understand a certain subject. One becomes a great teacher or a great trainer only when you are able to break it down in bite-sized forms in a simple way to all the people that you are training or educating to. For example, learning generational trauma or family constellation is highly logical. And you would actually know that if you have been a part of my 7-day training that I've been doing so far. It's a free training, the 7-day training where you become an intergenerational trauma coach. And working with generational trauma is complex. But it's not unscientific. It's not something that, just because it's complex and I can't make you understand because I don't have the vocabulary and I am someone who has probably done just a few modules and I've started teaching now, which is what most of the people are doing, doesn't mean that there is a concrete beginning and there is a concrete end, and it's highly logical, arithmetic and mathematical in a simple way. For example, this is a traumagram, right? I teach in my constellation work, generational trauma work, the way to do a traumagram. Like a traumagram is a highly mathematical, geometrical thing. It's a tool, it's a structure to truly learn how a family system is functioning and what kind of traumas are being held in the family system. And then we divide these traumas in different parts of the family system into different themes, right? For example, breaking the bond, merging, rejection, identification, and then even breaking the bond has different subcategories, rejection has subcategories, identification has subcategories, and also merging has different subcategories. And you have to study each subcategory perfectly. For example, one subcategory of break in the bond is parentification. The other is movement further away by hyper-independence. One could be over-attachment by falling ill or never leaving the house. And the other could be trauma bonding. So there are many different subcategories and you have to study them one by one so that you start noticing them when the client is bringing the problem to you. But it all starts by, first of all, onboarding the client, understanding the problem through a questionnaire, then doing the traumagram, then taking the traumagram and start experiencing the traumagram in different parts of the body. So let's say if this client has PCOS or anger towards dad or crying spells, and we notice that there is a break in the bond. So the first thing that we'll probably be doing is exploring the body of the client and what kind of memory the client holds from this particular break. So let's say we might do an exercise where we might ask this particular client to start visualizing their mother and bring the mother closer in their imagination. And they start feeling the sensations that they feel when mom is next to them. And they may start feeling anxious, or they may start feeling numb, or they may start feeling dysregulated. Then I as a therapist might say, okay, where in the body are you feeling this numbness? Where in the body are you feeling this dysregulation? Where in the body are you feeling this fear? And I might just keep on going, exploring those different parts of the body. And then I expand those feelings. I exacerbate those feelings so that the client can experience it. And in a controlled environment, we make the client go through those feelings fully until the very end so that the processing is complete. Once the processing is complete, then the next step is to return those feelings to the mother, right? And then bring in the love so that the break can be unbroken and the bond be completed. And then based on the catharsis and based on the integration, we will give exercises to the client to re-experience that broken bond into. So this is just one tiny example of how we can work with one small aspect of intergenerational trauma. There are many aspects. Like breaking the bond will have 5 to 6 aspects. Identification will have 5 to 6 aspects. Similarly, merging and rejection. What I'm trying to make you understand especially if you have seen my 7-day training, is that this is a highly logical approach. You can almost do it in a way that feels mathematical, surgical, in a step-by-step manner. If you have the proper teacher, if you have the proper trainer. The thing is, you need to do some amount of research, at least from the people that you are learning, or someone whom you are trusting with this kind of methodology. For example, if you look me up on YouTube on generational trauma, you can see that I am someone who has actually given a talk on generational trauma in Manhattan College, New York. I was specially invited to do this class, and then I uploaded the video on YouTube. So that is credibility. You know that, oh, I'm not learning from a quack. I'm actually learning from someone who has done this work at a highly credible international level. For example, if you look me up in the news section, right, I actually have a full-fledged interview in the New Indian Express on how trauma can be borrowed from apocalyptic times, where I talk about how the COVID-19 pandemic trauma will be borrowed to the next generation, and it's a highly scientific article, right, in the New Indian Express, where I talk about constellation work, generational trauma work. So you guys should read all that so that you know that, okay, fine, what is this guy speaking about? Like, is it just hogwash? Is it just some psychic stuff? Or is it like a thing which has a logical step-by-step approach, right? Of course, it falls under the domain of spiritual work, but it does have a scientific process to it. Now, this one is a clincher. If you go to that official TED website, right, TED.com, you would actually find a talk by me, Conflict and Evolutionary Byproduct, where I do talk about generational work. And it all proves that I am someone who brought this work into this country after learning from all the great trainers in the world. And therefore, I urge you not to get into the hands of quacks. And people say things which are up in the air. It doesn't have any logic. It doesn't have any understanding. It doesn't have any scientific bent. And even if you're spending money to learn courses, learn from people who are the origin source, who are credible, who can not only teach you with confidence, but with proper skills. And that is why I want you to join OITC, Original Intergenerational Trauma Coach Training and Professional Certification. Here is our beautiful website, drgauravdeka.co.in/OITC 2026. And this is how the entire website of the Original Intergenerational Trauma Coach Training and Professional Certification 2026 looks like. I urge you to go through it fully, properly, step by step, minutely, reading every single word, every single module, the enrollment process. If you truly want to become a trauma-focused coach, right? Someone who has very precise surgical understanding of trauma and also is able to use those skills with clients in exactly that manner. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what courses were on your mind. It doesn't matter OITC is at 5 lakhs. Come for OITC. It is worth investing, not just your money, your time, your intelligence, your focus, your attention, your entire career in 2026. Get in touch with my team at 96509-10775 and get inside by 31st December. And if you want to get the website link so that you can read through it, just comment OITC below.